Hello, in this video I'm going to look at 5 more of the city churches rebuilt by Christopher Wren and his team after the Great Fire that remain largely intact and as originally built, due mainly to them somewhat miraculously surviving the Blitz, either unscathed or with only minimal damage. St Benet Paul's Wharf, now St Benet Welch Church in Queen Victoria Street, is a small, beautifully proportioned mini masterpiece, almost certainly designed by Robert Hooke, whose drawings of the church survive. The body of the church is in red and blue brick alternating, with Portland stone at the quoins. Round-headed windows are topped with garlands. The roof is hipped. A square tower at the northwest corner of the nave stands on the medieval foundations of the pre-fire church and is crowned with a lead dome, an octagonal lantern and a squat spire. Surviving the Blitz unscathed and not subject to any major interior makeover, St Benet's is as authentic as a Wren City Church can get. St Margaret Pattens in Eastcheap, the cheap element incidentally comes from the Anglo-Saxon word for market, also survived the Blitz largely undamaged. Built of stone and rendered brick, with a tower that has an eye-catching spire, the third tallest of the Wren churches, after St Bride's and St Mary le Bow, rising 200 feet from a balustraded base with tall slender pinnacles at the corners. Pattens in the name probably refers to the overshoes people at the time wore on the muddy city streets, but the worshipful company of pattern makers have a long association with St Margaret's. A less likely connection is with Ranulph Pattern, a canon of medieval St Paul's, who owned property in the parish and may have been a benefactor. Much of the interior woodwork, although subject to some rearrangement, is original, including a pew for the beadle and a rare example of canopied pews for the church wardens. Where parishes were combined after the Great Fire, it was usual for the merged parish to retain its own church wardens. St Clement Eastcheap, hemmed in on narrow Clement's Lane, off King William Street, lays claim to being the St Clement's named in the nursery rhyme Oranges and Lemons, but so also does St Clement Danes in the Strand. An entry in the parish accounts for 1685, recording a hogshead of wine given to Christopher Wren, is a good indication he was personally responsible for the design. The church is rectangular in plan, built of brick and render with stone dressings, and with a simple square tower. Some minor damage was done during the Blitz, but the building was fully restored. Inside there have been substantial changes. Woodwork from Wren's interior was reused when the seating was rearranged in the late 19th century. The ceiling was restored in the 1920s, but a decorative central panel is original. St Margaret Lothbury stands on a short thoroughfare known as Lothbury, between the corner of Moorgate and where Bartholomew's Lane meets Throgmorton Street. It's rendered brick with stone dressings and a Portland stone south front. The tower has an obelisk set above a square dome. Much of the high-quality 17th century furnishing was rescued from city churches that are now lost, including a reredos attributed to Grinling Gibbons and a font, both from St Olive Jewry on Ironmonger Lane, which was demolished in 1892. The pulpit and a finely carved rood screen with open-work twisted balusters came from All Hallows the Great. Few of Wren City churches had rood screens and only 2 survive. The other is at St Peter upon Cornhill, on the corner of Gracechurch Street and Cornhill, installed at the insistence of the then rector, William Beveridge. Most of the Wren City churches are flooded with light. St Peter's less so, due to the addition of stained glass, replacing the original plain windows, and the lack of a clerestory, possibly due to concerns about whether the medieval foundations that were reused as a base for the square piers supporting the tunnel vault would stand the extra load of a higher roof. The main facade is on Gracechurch Street. A brick tower is crowned by a dome, a lantern and an obelisk spire. St Peter's stands in a significant position at the highest point of the city, a site once occupied by an early Roman basilica, a public building often containing a pagan shrine. A bishop called Restitutus, who was probably Bishop of London, attended the Council of Arles in 314. His church almost certainly was on the site of St Peter's. Now, I've referenced Robert Hooke several times in this series so far, working alongside Wren as his chief assistant and partner. He deserves to be more widely credited for his role in rebuilding London after the Great Fire, and he will be my subject next time. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like and subscribe buttons and click on the notification bell to be informed when the next video is available, or you can subscribe by clicking on the rose window over my shoulder.